Good evening and welcome to the iGPFun Super Formula Lights League. Round 11 of the championship takes us to Mount Panorama in Bathurst, New South Wales, Australia. I am Tom Cairns in the commentary position. Alongside me is Dean Biggles, who will be with me for the next hour or so to analyse the action. We're coming into the closing minutes of qualifying. It is Lee Aberdeen on home turf on provisional pole position. Can anyone take that away from him? We'll have a look at the championship standings with there being 2 races to go. It includes all of the results that each driver has done so far. There are 2 dropped scores at the end of the season, but this championship standings is based on all the rounds so far. Tony Jimenez leading the way on 403 points, with Denny Cornu in second on 366. It's Robert Ridgway in third on 348, followed by Ayan in 4th place on 323, Jakub Olszewski in 5th on 320, followed by Mehmet Taski in 6th on 301, Max Invictus in 7th on 294, followed by Andy Thun in 8th on 270. Then we've got Eddie Amos in 9th on 269, and Ludwig Ransson running out the top 10 on 215. And then we've got Adam Talsma, Simon Fessy, Luca Ferrani, Scott Taylor, Amal Younas running at the top 15. And there are plenty of those further down the championship standings who are aiming to improve their championship scores. It looks like that Tony Jimenez has got one hand on the trophy, if not both of them, Dean, who I will introduce you to the booth. Now, he's pretty much got this sewn up because working out the drop scores in terms of who can improve on what, it's impossible for Tony Jimenez to be caught now in the championship.
Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? So, well, if he's got basically 2 hands on the trophy, it's just a matter of bringing it home. That's consistency, I think, when you come to Tony. He doesn't always have to go out there and win races every single time, but he has been consecutively getting himself some nice podiums, and that's the key to success for the Spaniard.
3 wins, 3 second places, and 2 thirds. The only way you can improve it is by finishing in the top 2 in the remaining rounds. And as for the likes of in the championship standings, looking at the calendar, we've been to Suzuka, Portimao, Road America, Hungaroring, Motegi, Hockenheim, Phillip Island, Nürburgring, Magny-Cours, and Silverstone. Tonight is Bathurst Mount Panorama, and the final round of the season is over at the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium. There's also a Formula Give-In charity event being staged the week after that on June the 15th, so we look forward to that one. In terms of the briefing for tonight, given the notorious nature of this Mount Panorama track, on the first lap there's no overtaking until the exit of turn 1, and throughout the whole race there is no overtaking during the mountain section of the course. So from the cutting all the way to Forest Elbow, no overtaking, and if you're going to be lapped, you do it over just before the S's, just after where Skyline is based at. So that's going to make for an interesting challenge, Dean. We're given this track, of which you know all too well, considering you are over, down, under. What do you think is the key to success around this track in these single-seaters?
It's Forest Elbow. Absolutely is one of those places, because if you get a good exit out of the elbow, you've got all the way down Conrod Straight to basically get, which is the longest straight you're going to get in this track. So, and then you get into the chase area where some people try to do a little bit of overtaking opportunities there as well when under a slipstream. We'll see how it pans out for these cars doing it. And then sometimes into Hell's Corner in the turn 1. And practically the rest of it up through the mountain, it's just a chase situation because there's really no places to overtake up there. But I have seen it before in the past. And the first of all, you have to conquer the mountain. Conquer the mountain first. And then you survive the race, bring it home, and then worry about the other cars that are around you during it. But first of all, you need to conquer the mountain, and you need to tame it, and you need to make sure that it's always there to remind you, because it'll bite you, and it bites hard.
Tony Jimenez may be the championship leader, but he hasn't won since round 3 in Road America to complete the hat-trick start to the season. We've had 4 different race winners in the last 4 rounds. Simon Fessy winning in Phillip Island, Thomas Rezgin at the Nürburgring, Jesper Sandström at Magny-Cours, and Boris Lysen last time out at Silverstone. Lee Aberdeen is fastest of them all. He hasn't taken a pole position or a race win this season so far, has Lee Aberdeen. I wonder if this might be his first race this season, thinking of it, because he hasn't competed a lot this time around. compared to other seasons he's taken part in this championship. But he is still setting the pace, as he has done whenever he has been around competing in this series. We're just waiting for qualifying to end, and Lee Aberdeen will start the race from pole position ahead of Kevin Strumscher. Will run down on the grid in a moment. 24 laps it'll be around this course of Mount Panorama, home of the Bathurst 1000, of which the Supercars Championship competes in every single year. I'm looking forward to this one, and I'm sure you are as well, with these single seasons going around this very, very challenging and dangerous Mount Panorama circuit. The overtaking spots, we expect them to be done over at the quarry and over at the chase on the exit of the Conrod Straight. And Morris Corner is also a destination where we expect to see a lot of overtakes happen.
A lot of people risk it for the biscuit too in the chase and think that they got it done, but the chase, obviously, with a series of corners, isn't necessarily always over and done with. And the cutting, well, yeah, that's a total risk it for the biscuit. But let's go ahead and get you the grid for this evening.
Lee Aberdeen on pole position on home serve with Kevin Strumscher alongside him. We've got the championship, or the champion, Tony Jimenez in third place, Lucifer Ranson in fourth, Denny Cornu in fifth ahead of Robert Ridgway, and it's Bahindin Ayan in seventh, and it's Andrei Foskowski in a fine eighth position. And it's Yunus Amal and Jakub Dovasuski running out the top 10. Max Invictus in P11 alongside Brad Fulligar, with Clark Williams and Chris Patel running out row 7 ahead of Kuchi Ito and Eddie Amos. Mehmet Taski and Nguyen are on row 9, followed by Lewis Archer and Elliot Hankin running out the top 20. Adam Telsma, the Canadian, alongside Chris Byron, and it's Oscar Artanano and Scott Taylor on row 12, followed by Dorian Arroyo and Paul Distelli on row 13. Then it's Simon Eberg and Matthew Gracie on row 14. On the 15th and final row of the grid are Johan Annette and Jimmy Dos Santos.
Interesting in turn 1 in the Hell's Corner. It can be a very, very interesting situation, but the drivers are aware during their drivers' meeting that there's no active overtaking, isn't there, till up well, it's chasing each other through, isn't up into the mountain itself. No overtaking up there. It's interesting to see how it's going to pan out. But the Aussie hero, and I'll tell you what, that's a fantastic qualifying session as well, too, considering about the top 10 were separated by about a second to here at Bathurst, which is a very long track, is impressive. But he wants to take this win here, and he wants it here at home. I would look out for the Aussie, mate.
I would agree with that as well. Lee Aberdeen, who I've already mentioned, hasn't featured a lot this season, but on a track like this, he wasn't going to say no to competing here. We're waiting for the drivers to get onto the grid now. We're waiting for the likes of Johan Annette and Jimmy Dos Santos to get onto the grid. Otherwise, we'll be raring to go. The 5 red lights are coming on now, and when they extinguish, we'll be racing here in Bathurst. Lights are on. Green. Lights off, it's go in Mount Panorama. Great reaction time from Lee Aberdeen ahead of Kevin Strumscher. And on a short rundown to the first corner of Hells, and Lee Aberdeen taking the early advantage over the Dutchman, with Tony Jimenez slotted into third place. They can actively overtake all the way before the cut-in, so we expect to see some changes within the field by the time they get down to the quarry. But it's Lee Aberdeen who is able to pull away, and we'll watch for Ludovic Ranson sneaking in front of Tony Jimenez. Go looking to the outside before they get to the right-hander, and the Frenchman is through ahead of Jimenez, albeit briefly, because Ranson, I think, has gone into the wall, Dean, as they make their way towards the cut-in now. No overtaking until the exit of Forest Elbow from here.
It looked like he was going very, very slow as well, too. Easy to have a little bit of a pinch into that fence early in this one, but Lee's got out to a storming lead at the moment. He's almost got a second lap up the road there. This is where that action is. Tony's just going to be already, perhaps he'd like to get a race win, of course, to survive another contact again on the wall here as they're making their way back down the mountain.
Yep, that's Denny Cornu coming round McFinery Park. There is Skyline, which they're going through, and now it's the S's as they are declining. And with riding on board with Lucia Ranson in 6th place. He's lost a few positions since going through the quarry. He's down to 6th place, but at least he's kept his car in the running. But it's Lee Aberdeen who leads the way by nearly a second over Kevin Strumscher, getting through that first part of the course safe and sound. I don't think we've got Johan Annette or Jimmy Dos Santos taking the start, so it looks like it's an early end to the evening for the pair of them. We're coming towards the end of the first lap. There's a long way to go as we see Ransong making a move further back, and they're also from Denny Cornu and Tony Jimenez. Long before the chase, Cornu is past the champion.
That's it. That's your classic. Is off. Oh, he's in the middle of the racetrack. It's going to collide, and that's huge. And Jacob manages nowhere to go and goes flying.
It's Yakidov Zuski who he's collided with. That was really poor from Verskovsky, the way he just cut across there. Don't know why he just didn't stay still until the field had gone past him. We'll get a replay of Zuski, who was just basically left nowhere to go, barrel rolling into the barrier on the exit of the chase, and he's going to be absolutely furious with that, and understandably so.
Yeah, he's just gone a little bit wide out here, and I don't know if he could stop the car actually in time. He's on the brakes, and then actually releases the brake for a second, goes forward. I think there still could have been a collision anyway, regardless of what he could have probably done, but it's a racing incident. Unfortunately, the Polish driver, maybe race day over for him.
Yeah, that's unlucky for both Verskovsky and for Zuski, the innocent bystander in all of that. But we are down to 26 runners, and we've got Matthew Gracie down in last place. He's still going. One of the rookies, I would say, in the field. I don't recall him competing in this championship before this season, but he is still in this one as we make the way through Finery Park, and we see Jimenez holding firm in fourth place. Now we're looking at Robert Widgway on the tail of the Frenchman, part of the Unity Racing Squad. Ludovic Ranson, Robert Ridgway, part of the Ridgway Racing Setups team. He's got Maxim Victus as his teammate in the field, as well as Krish Patel. They are doing their best to make their way through the field as they exit Forest Elbow, where they can do some overtaking again. But it's going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be too difficult, because the slipstream effect is quite massive on the Conrod Straight and on the first back straight of the mountain straight before getting to the quarry.
You see how close enough he gets. This is why it's very, very important to nail your exit at an elbow. It can buy you a little bit of breathing space if you are the one defending, and obviously he can give you a mountain of an attack here, as Robert Ridgway is going to be thinking about this into the final corner. But no, he'd love to tuck in. Maybe Hell's Corner, get a good exit out of Hell's Corner, and then to ride your way all the way up the mountain, as Leaf set the fastest lap currently at the moment, maintaining a 2-second gap almost over there from Kevin. So the Aussie looking strong.
The battle for third place is intensifying between four drivers. I think someone spun in the background. Was that Clark Williams that went for a spin on the exit of Hell's Corner?
Yes, sir.
I think it was. I think it might. Yeah, he's had a spin. I hope he's not hit the barrier. I don't think he has done. He'll look to rejoin the race, albeit safely, without taking anyone with him. And there we see a move from Jimenez on corner for third place. But what is Runson going to do? Because that's his teammate in front, and now he's having to fend from Robert Ridgway to the outside. Ridgway going too deep. He's in the wall at the cutting. How on earth did he survive that? Because that looks like he was going to go straight into the wall, but it looks like he hit the barrier square on to the point where he was able to continue.
Absolutely. I didn't think 3-1 was going to work there at all. Cleverly, somebody did lift off there. It looked like Robert might have just elected to give up a place at that point. Well, actually, starting the same place he is currently at the moment. But wow. Yeah, it's a little too early, gentlemen, I'd say, to be racing that ante.
I think later on in the event. I mean, the last thing you want is one of these ending in the wall, and those. Oh, that's Robertson. That's suspension broken. I'm sure he's damaged the car there, and I highly doubt he's going to be able to go further after hitting the wall like that.
Well, he's coming back, but that's coming back and running to his left. So that's going to see whether or not his steering is going to handle as well. We'll turn to the braking zone here of the chase coming up at the moment, as the camera should get back into focus in a second. And look at that on the tailpipe there is. This is going to be super exciting, of course. This is what you expect. This is the mountain. This is Bathurst at its finest. And look at this three-wide action, perhaps up the road there, gentlemen. Mm-hmm.
I was looking at Ranson. I wonder if he was the one that went wide at the chase there, because when I looked at his steering wheel, it didn't look straight whatsoever, and hence why he's having to fight with the car all the way through. We're looking at that's Yunus Amal going through ahead of Ludovic Ranson. Ranson, he will not be going through those corners as sweetly now after hitting the wall like that. There you can you see the steering wheel? It's a little bit askew, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, his front wheels don't look like Bambi was just born at the moment, so it's not too bad. But, we've got a little bit of action. So you saw Clark Williams. So far, so good, you'd have to say. Early days of this race, no major shenanigans. There is a little huge battle back here at the moment as new in there on the back there. Chris gets around currently at the moment, the driver, but I'd still want to keep my eyes peeled at that action. Oh, Simon. Oh, there is the Swedish driver hard into the fence. Simon
Berg. Yeah, Simon Berg has been in the wall. We'll see how he's managed to do that. He was fighting with someone there. I don't know who that was. He was going side by side with, but it looks like he's gonna. Oh, it's a tap. Yeah, he turned in. He turned in there, didn't read into the situation, and that's what put him into the wall. And it's an early end to the race for him.
Yeah, trying to go around the outside there to get an overtake it can be done, no problems, but at the same time, you've got to make sure that the driver is aware that you're there. And obviously, they've just come a little bit too close there. Is Ned Kelly's Australian whiskey, mate. Famous outlaw, of course, in Australia. Old Ned. As we're going to see, a nice little run here to the chase.
That's Chris Patel. Chris Patel going to the outside of Max. Is that Invictus, though? Is that a back marker? It might be a back marker, thinking of it. He's gone past. But Chris Patel is through on... No, it is it's Brad Filligard. My apologies for that. Yeah, so he's through into 10th place. We've got someone in the pits as well. Hankin has gone back into the pit lane. And then we're looking at Ludovic Ranson going side by side with Yunus Amal. I don't know how he's managed to survive that scrape against the wall. And with the steering wheel looking like it is a little askew for Ranson. But he is somehow able to cope with the situation. It feels a bit like Ollie Berman when he clouted the wall slightly in Baku, which broke the rear suspension somewhat, but was still able to continue on and put his Prema on pole position.
Yeah, absolutely impressive. What you could do here is you can also bang on the other wall, isn't it, and fix the steering up the other side. This is fantastic racing between these cars here. They're going to have to back off at some point soon. There's contact into the fence on the inside. I tell you what, you are very, very brave here. It's like sticking your foot into a nest full of snakes here in Australia, or spiders or something like that, and expect not to get bitten, because driving like that here at the mountain, somebody's going to get bitten in a second.
Yeah, I wonder if they've read the briefing, because they're not supposed to overtake there, and overtake. Yeah, that's exactly why you don't overtake at that part of the circuit.
Yeah, I figured that was coming, my friend. I just already called it. You know, you can't do it here at the Mount. V8 supercars, you could probably get away with that. They're a little bit stronger, but these cars are just flimsy. You know that they're not going to be able to handle.
We're going to go replay. This is Ranson. Yeah, this is why you don't battle and then overtake, because this is what can happen when you've got cars behind you that just can do nothing about it. So that's Ranson going off along with Ian, and I think that was Amal that went off the circuit as well. Or was it Invictus? My apologies. I think it was Max Invictus that got involved in that. And all three of them out on the spot effectively.
Yeah, just like that. You're from the penthouse to the outhouse. And that's just like, yeah, to be expected. Absolutely. This is why this man's done everything he needed at the moment. He realizes, hey, I'm an Aussie. In order to win Bathurst, best thing you can do is place your car on pole, defend yourself under the early attacks there, get yourself a nice gap. Now he has it for 2.5 seconds. He does not need to worry about any of these shenanigans behind him for now. He will have to worry about a couple of lap cars, of course, later on to this race, especially at the pace that he's doing in the 57s. 57.05 his last lap, which is the fastest lap on the race. We've got drivers in the midfield around doing 58s. So remember, it was Lee actually so many races ago early in the season, and I do recall that was right up there. I'm just trying to think of which of the tracks there, but at some points he was a little bit slower than some of the other cars by about a second and change or some of that. But because of attrition during the race, he managed to come back and give himself a nice top 10 finish. Don't always have to be the quickest driver out there, but today he is.
We see Paul Distelli being overtaken by Ludovic Ranson, who's just come out of the pits now in 19th position. He's going to go like clockwork to gain what he had lost. And Jakub Owsiewski's coming in saying that he thought that Andrzej Woskowski would stop in the middle, but he didn't believe that it was his fault anyway, because he had lots of the tyres, which I could agree with him. It was very difficult once you're on the grass in that situation that it's difficult, because you've got a split-second decision to make on what to do your best to avoid taking anyone with him, and you just couldn't avoid. This is the collision that Jakub Owsiewski was alluding to.
Yeah, hit the chicane on the inside there. He said it lifted the car a little bit, and then he's sliding on the anchors, and he tries to release to get off the racing line, I would imagine. Look at Tahu. Yeah,
you don't want to be seeing that in real life, let me tell you. It is quite nasty. I just hope Jakub Jakob obviously hasn't taken much pain from that, because I'd imagine if he was doing it on a sim rig, that would the G forces of that would would impact you quite a bit. So I'd like to think he'll be all right from that. But yeah, that was a wild shunt.
Yeah, Jakob, we just wanted to remind you of how it felt to be going airborne in Bathurst, mate. It's a little unfortunate that you're out by it. Once again, it's a racing incident, and his hat's off. He's tipping the hat, of course, to the other driver there of Andre. So good on him. Yeah. It's one of those situations. It's just races quieting down a little bit. They've started to find a little bit of a gap between these drivers, actually. I'm quite surprising considering all that lovely action that we had. But once again, there's an example out there, boys and girls, cats and dogs, of why you don't go 3 wide up through the middle of the mountain.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, had they read the briefing before they went racing? Well, someone just nearly dropped it there. That was Chris Byron. That was Chris Byron who nearly dropped it on the exit of the cutting, but he just about got off the brakes to just get the car rolling out of there, and he's absolutely fine. There's no problem with him. This is Robert Ridgway, who is behind Denny Cornu, heading down towards Forest Elbow.
Yep.
Out they come, and now they can start doing the overtaking on these straights, unlike over in the mountain section. But I can say the closest battle we've got on circuit really is probably what we are seeing in picture, although there is actually a battle between Oscar Artanano and Clark Williams for 16th position. Clark Williams on the tail of the Spaniards. They come out of the elbow, and we could well see an overtake from Williams in a moment here.
Yeah, to get out of the elbow perfectly, you've got to approach it like, a typical racing line, spotting the apex. The apex, of course, is the very inside fence. Let's see how this pans out there. Lovely liveries, easy to determine which is who's who at the moment, as Kevin's fighting at the moment, the fastest lap, trying to slice and dice something from the race leave. A little lock up there at the moment. Couldn't quite get it done.
Holding his line ahead of Williams, but to no avail. But watch out for Ludovic Ranson's progress, because he's passed Dorian Arroyo already, and we've looked like Brad Fullergall looks like he had some form of disconnection there. We'll find out more what's going on with him. I think he has had a disconnect, or at least we can find out what's happened to him, because he's back into the pit lane.
Oh, it really was.
Yeah, on the graph.
Bang.
Yeah, he didn't lift off the throttle.
Stay.
Lift off the throttle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That's the reason why you don't go full throttle on the grass. You allow the car. The reason why you take your foot off the throttle.
No, sorry. If you look at it, there's a little kink that comes out in the wall. That's what's clipped him. You should get off the throttle, but if you see here, there's a little tire barrier that sticks out there. Boom, clips it.
Yes.
And he elected for a tow on that one, which he could have stayed still on that one. He was in the middle of the track. Those drivers had time to react, but he did a heavily punishing tow as well too. Remember, because he's just past the exit of the pit lane, so you've got to go back all the way around a slow tow truck to bring it back.
That promotes Ludovic Ranson up to 17th position. Adam Telsman's got past Chris Byron. I think Chris Byron has also been in the wall, Dean, and we'll find out exactly what has happened to Chris, as we see the timing tower changed a little bit. As we see Chris Byron, I think he's gone into the wall at the S's, hasn't he?
Yeah, I saw a bit of puff of smoke there. Yeah, you can see how light it is. Yep.
Yeah, he's done the right thing in going back, not doing a 3-point turn, because if you spin round there, you are required to essentially jump straight back into the pit lane instead of doing a 3-point turn.
Yeah, Clark Williams actually gets past Oscar as well, too, and makes his way up in a P14, down 1 from where he started this race. I want to go back to that battle here with Roberto Ridgway, as he's going to put the pressure there on Dennis, the Frenchman, and this is going to be a classic overtaking opportunity, but he's got a lot of space. We saw before when there's contact, and he does, slips in just ahead there. No fight there from the Frenchman for now, but the Frenchman can come back at him if he chooses to, out of a good Forest Elbow exit.
Now, once you go through this kink here, you can't overtake until the exit of Forest Elbow. I think Connor did the right thing to let him go, because otherwise, had they carried on battling, they probably would have ended up in the wall, or they would have just lost time to those ahead of them in the field. Ridgway through into 4th place ahead of Denny Cornu, and can set about going after Tony Jimenez. The closest battle we've got now on circuit is between Adam Telsman and Clark Williams. They're going through the mountain section now. The gap is around about 3 tenths. Clark Williams is really on a charge, actually, after that spin on the exit of Hell's Corner. Ludovic Ranson is ahead of Paul Distelli into 16th position. So he's coming back through the field slowly but surely. We've seen Cornu and Ridgeway exit the elbow, and I can tell you that the gap is definitely a lot bigger compared to what it was when they entered the mountain section.
Yeah, Robert just nailed heading down the mountain a little bit better at the moment now that he hasn't been chasing Dennis for a little bit. So he's getting there. He's getting there. You're starting at the moment now to put your head down and just focus on your own racing line. Further back in the field there, that Clark Williams now has managed to get on the tailpipe there of Adam. So making gains here currently at the moment. Let's have a look on board. Needs to use a tear-off strip down into the chase.
Does he go through? Well, I can say he is alongside, but is he alongside enough to take the line into the chase? The answer to that is yes.
Yes.
He slingshots his way through around the outside. Nice overtake there from Clark.
Impressive. Tasky's gone in. Don't see any noticeable damage at the moment from the Turkish driver heading down into pit road.
We definitely don't normally see pit stops or schedule. Oh, he's hit the wall somewhere. I think he's hit the wall somewhere as Tusky. I don't know where he's done it, but it feels to me he's had a clout with the wall. You saw how his steering wheel was a little askew, so it feels to me he may have hit the right-hand side against, I don't know, Forest Elbow maybe.
Yeah, it's plenty of places around here that the wall can come out and bite you. The drivers don't hit the wall, Tom. I told you this. The wall hits the drivers. You know, that's what they'd say in Formula 1 anyway. Formula driver, go, hit me. I can't do anything wrong. I'm the best driver in the world. You are if you're Oscar.
Well, at the end of
and you are if you're Lee.
Well, at the end of the day, the walls don't move. The walls don't move.
Oh, they will for Formula 1 drivers, mate. You got to blame something. You can't blame yourself. That's golden rule number 1. Never blame yourself. Only Charles Leclerc did that in Azerbaijan.
We see Nguyen in 11th place. Luigi Franson is now up to 15th as a consequence of Tusky going back to the pit lane for repairs. We've got someone else falling into the wall. I think Tusky is he's gone back into the pit lane again. I wonder.
He's made a mistake. Cold tyres, warm heart. What's happened here?
I don't know why he even tried to attack the corners in the same way. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He was never going to get that slowed down. Never going to get that slowed down on cold tyres.
Yeah, you got to ease it into the... Ooh, that's just running a little bit off the line there for Lewis Archer. But he manages to regain himself. Another thing that's a bit tricky there too, Tom, is that when some of those drivers make a mistake up through the mountain section, you can see some of that kitty lick a little bit thrown back onto the track there. You're flying with it. These cars are already really light as it is, and they get a little bit of airborne when you go down the mountain. You come back onto that, onto the kitty litter, that's spread out across the track. All of a sudden, you got no traction whatsoever. You get a turn, and the car says, "No, I'm heading straight for the fence."
Well, that is the thing with one of the recent updates that iRacing made, that if you go through the gravel, you can leave bits of the kitty litter on the racetrack, especially on the racing line. And if you leave that over where the S's begin, that is a nightmare. That is going to be a nightmare for the other drivers, hence why Lee Aberdeen just needs to be on his toes a little bit. And I wonder why that is the reason for Kevin Strumster getting the gap now, because he posted a new fastest up of the race last time around. The gap coming down to 1.5 seconds between the first and second place drivers. We're looking at Ludovic Ranson, who is behind Adam Telsma. He won't be able to overtake him here because he's not allowed to, and neither should he try to, because, well, this is what he tried to do when he was battling with Bahedin Aryan and Maxim Victus. I really hope he's read his rule book, because he'll be told that you're not supposed to overtake around the mountain until they get out of Forest Elbow and then go for it.
Now it's important for him to close up as much as he can. Getting ready. You're going to be dipping it over to the right-hand side here and then sweeping it around to the left. You'll almost touch the elbow with your front wheel. There it is, so your front wheel. Good exit right here for the Frenchman, and I think it's going to be not too much that Adam's going to be able to do to defend against this.
Yeah, there's no point fighting it. I mean, Lee Aberdeen, that's a connection issue.
Thankfully, back in it.
My heart was raising there.
Yeah.
But But no, Lee Aberdeen is still in the race. Ludwig Ransson is most certainly still in the race because we can see him in our picture. He goes through and Adam Telsma does not put up a fight.
There it is. That's all about the perfect exit to elbow. And that's how you can line yourself up for a nice, clean overtake and not have to worry. And he's already started to build a bit of a half a second gap too. But you had to bite your tongue and you had to be patient chasing the driver up through the mountain and respect the mountain. He absolutely did that at the moment. Tasky's, as I said, back in. Max is in as well. Max had a moment, so let's see what's happened to Super Max.
Max Invictus, who's been in the wall again, he's done exactly the same
Oh.
thing. Oh, well, I say exactly the same thing. He's just got too much on the curb, and that's what threw the car in the wall.
Yep, on board right now here.
He catches the grass. Did you see he
Yeah,
caught
yeah.
the grass? He caught the grass on the entry, which compromised his line slightly, threw him onto the curb, and the curb just threw him into the wall. Simple as that.
He didn't lift enough, would it? I mean, it's easier than us sitting up here in the commentary box going, oh, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. But, you know, the drivers are doing this, flying in. We don't know what their tyre temperatures are feeling like. The situation with the car, a little scrape into the fence there at the moment for Vimala. But, yeah, you just kind of think, all right, if you go a little bit too wide like that and you're approaching the entrance in a high-speed section, to lift a little bit there and just to allow the aero to brake the car. But once again, this is happening in a split second for these drivers. And that's how quickly it is to make a little mistake around here at Bathurst.
Eunice Emma running in 6th position behind Denny Cornier and Robert Ridgway, who isn't able to do anything about Tony Jimenez. This is Andrei Voskowski, who's going to have another moment here. This is on the exit of Murray's, the last turn. I think he just went wide onto the grass and left a little bit of a gifted present there to Matthew Gracie directly behind.
That he did. Lucky to get away from that one, of course. A little bit of runoff area that you have in a Hell's Corner. That situation, the Tronesque livery up the road there of Eddie Amos, the Welsh driver. Soon he's going to have, I tell you, one of the biggest gainers so far in this race, isn't it? Lewis Archer on a rampage at the moment, 9 places up.
And he's going well in this one. No such problems for Lewis Archer so far. Right on board on the mountain straight, keeping up with Eddie Amos, who's doing better than expected. Running in 9th place. Very nice to see Eddie running that high up in the field. Ludwig Ransson's now just over a couple of seconds off Clark Williams, who's going after Nguyen, who's going after Lewis Archer, but he's got another couple of seconds to make up before he can think about attacking him. Lewis Archer just, I don't know if taking a slightly wider line into the cutting is the way to go, because that dip there as you go up is what has caught a number of drivers out so far. You just want to leave yourself enough room to get through the corner without having to sacrifice speed on the exit, just so that you don't see the car just sort of spinning around like a... The brakes always clipped the wall.
Yeah.
It looks like he clipped the wall a little bit, didn't it?
It did. It's hard you see in the cockpit view of these cars. This is how difficult it is. It's difficult to drive in Bathurst, but it's difficult when you're sitting so low down in the car. Kind of like this, you want a little bit of a booster seat sometimes, to say you can look up over your nose, because the mountain being, you know, such elevation changes, you're really heading it into blind corners at some points, and so you just got to commit yourself and get your little muscle memory just triggering over and over again from all those practice laps that you've done to know to exactly guesstimate this, where the car's going to be on the track coming down the mountain. And that's what these drivers are doing. And of course, every little mistake. Look at the blinding Australian sunshine, mate. That's right. For you people in the UK, we have sunshine here in Australia. You know, we get about a good 3/4 of a year of that big ball of hydrogen burning over there. I know that you probably don't get that too much in your neck of the woods, mate, but it's beautiful, but it's blinding for some of these drivers as well, too, especially when you have to use a Terravisor and you get all that dirt and grit all over your helmet.
Yunus Amal, who was running in 6th position, has ended up in the wall somewhere. We'll find out what happened to the Moroccan. We'll see where he's ended up there. This is an entry to the Esters as he goes down the hill. And this is probably going to be similar to what I think Chris Byram did earlier. And, yeah. And he's done the right thing to go straight back into the pit lane, because you're not supposed to make 3-point turns around that part of the course.
There it is. He hit a little bit of the chicane there. The car lifts up. Ooh.
It's that dip.
Yeah.
It's the dip.
Yeah, you can't turn. These cars aren't designed for 3-point turns like that. Exactly. He just did the retiring the toe in the pit lane, which cost you a bit of time, but still lives to see another day. Here it is, the Aussie, the Thunder from Down Under, in Down Under at the moment in Bathurst on his home track here, doing a solid job, but he's getting a little bit of threat from the Dutchman behind him currently at the moment now. That gap is down to 1.2. So Kevin at the moment should be able to spot the Aussie up the road. There he is. Interesting, some lap traffic as well in play. Tom.
Yeah, I hope that back marker gets out of the way of Lee Aberdeen, because he's not doing him any favours so far, although Aberdeen may want the toe from that back marker as he goes past.
Catch him up the mountain area, isn't it? That's going to be the problem, because there's no overtaking.
We can overtake at this part of the course.
Yeah, he's got to get him here now.
Yeah, he'll go through now here.
Will Kevin get him in time? That's going to be the interesting part, isn't it? So Lee safely through. Kevin now might get hindered a little bit by the back marker up the road there, which is, I think it's Elliot. They're already starting to...
It's Elliot Hankin, yeah. Elliot Hankin is the one that's in the way. But the trouble that Stremstra is going to have is being able to get through on him. Now, there is one area that he can lap him, and that's over at the S's. There is a runoff area which Hankin could take to get out of the way of Stremstra coming through. Yeah,
let's see at the moment, because you'd have to say with Hankin, he's keeping up the pace there, so I don't think it's really hindering. You can see the gap's still 1.5 seconds. That's what Kevin's concerned with. But this around here, so a little bit of a power slide. It's actually going to throw off Kevin himself there.
Yeah.
Once again, you can't be using that driver as your racing line. He's got to get a good exit. It's throwing him off actually from getting a good exit out of the elbow. But hopefully he'll get the slipstream here. Remember, till the back marker will do their best with the blue flags to move out of the way. He seems to be going defensive there at the moment, isn't it? There, so Colin Kebby should be swinging around here, get back onto the racing line. That's the racing line, of course, through the chase, no problems. Now, how's that help Tony? Because Tony is 1.5 seconds down the road. Tony will have to deal with that traffic himself, but he was the fastest man in the last lap.
He was, and he'll be on the rear of the back marker of Elliot Hankin, who is running in 17th position. 20 cars circulating around. Simon Aberg, who we saw go into the barrier, is still running in 20th position.
Oh, Kitty later kicked up like that.
This is a chance for Jimenez to make the most of the toe. He'll want to use that, and we're seeing Clark Williams and Nguyen go into combat here. Not too far behind them will be Ludwig Ranson. Ranson's up to 12th position through all the chaos we have seen. He's got plenty of time still. I mean, they've got 9 laps to go here in Mount Panorama. There may only be 9 laps left, but they've seen like the longest 9 laps in your entire life.
Got the overtake there. So very clever play there from Elliot, moving completely out of the way before they go up through the important mountain part. So that's good. That'll allow Tony to continue to chase down that P2 position there from the Dutchman. And they've got about that 1.7 second gap between those top 3 that's doing at the moment. It's that battle between Clark Williams still forming here. It's UK versus El France.
This is Williams against Ndiaye. Looking to the outside before they get to the cutscene. Who's going to have their nose in front? Williams has to get out of it. There's no way he's going to pull it off
Coming
there.
back.
He can't overtake through here. If he's read his rule book, he won't be able to overtake through here until they get out of the elbow.
Absolutely. Further up the road too. Lewis is also the situation's in the interface. You're going to have to lift off there at the moment. Lewis, once again, the biggest gainer here at this race. He's inside the top 10 right now, currently in 9th place, hunting down for an 8th place. He's got 10 places gained, and if he can get right up the exhaust pipe there of the Welshman, is out of the elbow, is going to have a good run here.
Let's see, coming out of the elbow they come. Does Archer get a decent exit? Not as good as Amos, so Amos is able to hold on for now. But what about Nguyen and Williams? Because that battle will be closer. We're looking at Ransom. We want to have a look at Williams here. Here is Clark Williams. Does he go for it here? It was close last time around. I think he's closer here. Let's see how he gets on. Through the kink before the chase. Williams to the outside of Nguyen, entering the far chicane. Williams gets his nose out, gets his elbows out, and that is sweet as you like from Clark Williams is through, although he's got a problem.
What happened?
I don't know what's happened there from Clark. Did he was there contact made?
Oh,
or did he have like a connection issue?
No, we'll go back and have a look at the different angle on that one, but it just looked like
it looks bizarre.
Yeah, that's an issue. See, the steering wheel went left and right. No need for him to go left and right. We'll go on board with the cockpit view. See, it goes left, right, left like that. That's something. Maybe he's had a cat or something jump up on your lap or something like that, or something's disconnected from the car. But that's an instant tow back to pit road, and that's unfortunate for him because there was some fantastic racing going on there at the moment. But continuing back to some fantastic racing, Lewis still trying to find his way past Eddie Amos to get himself 12 positions gain in this race.
Yeah, they're both up to 7th and 8th places. I wonder what's happened. I think someone's dropped down the order. Krish Patel, I think, was ahead of them before he went into the pit lane. So that's allowed Amos and Archer through into 7th and 8th places respectively, entering the final third of this race here in Mount Panorama. Lee Aberdeen on course for victory, 1.8 seconds clear over Kevin Strunstra. Tony Jimenez not able to do anything right now. Neither is Robert Ridgway or Denny Cornu. Huge Ito on his own in 6th position. And then we've got Eddie Amos and Lewis Archer in our picture doing battle once more. It is closer this time for Archer, as they're using all of the tarmac, and there's like a little bit of tarmac on that right hand side coming out of the elbow, which Amos has used to good effect as they sprint down towards the chase. Is Archer close enough to have a go here?
That's where you need a little push to pass, don't you? At the moment, or a late send, which is exactly what he's going to do. And he's going to try to fight that one back there with the momentum, but Lewis looks like he can hold that position. And if he can, down into turn 1. That's the final turn there, but of course in Hell's Corner, he might have that position there, but we'll see whether or not Eddie can chase him back up to the mountain. But you're right about Patel, as it looked like there was a moment earlier, and that was probably going to be a bit of a hard lick into the fence there, if it's going to be a retirement back into pit road. There, that's now. How many times have we seen that today? Unfortunately, get out onto that chicane, and you got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and he'll have pulled to the side at some point, and we just see a change of positions between the two Unity Racing drivers. I think that's Ludwig Ranson going through on and Guyan back up into 9th position. He's got a good chance of getting P7 out of this if he can help it. Ludwig Ranson, after being in the wars earlier. It looks like Elliot Hankin has gone into the wall, hence why he's back into pit lane. Unfortunately for him,
it's like that Queen song.
Not too many cars left.
Dun, dun, another one bites the dust. That's what's happening here at the mountain. It's biting drivers. 2 for now. Let's see what's happened to Elliot. Unfortunately, so Elliot was in the mix here before, getting a lap down from the drivers. He's just locked up the brake, hasn't he? Bang.
Yeah. The rear wing gone, and the car towed back into the pit lane.
Tell you what, that's going to be a little scary moment for those drivers who are about to put a lap on him too, seeing that car go straight into the fence there. But how's this for Tony? He's putting big time pressure on the Dutchman for P2. This is allowing Lee a big smile on his face there, because he's now got a 3.4 second gap. He would be happy to hear that on the radio. You can see him up the road there. Happy to hear that these two are battling for that second step on the podium.
Yeah, Strunstra lost a lot of time. He lost about a second or so to Aberdeen on the last lap, and that's allowed Jimenez to get into the tow and think about a move before they get to the quarry. No way through just yet for Tony Jimenez, waiting behind Kevin Strunstra before they head up the hill. And but no, it's no way through just yet. Just 16 cars left in the race. Simon Abog down in 16th position behind Paul Distelli, who has rejoined the race after his brief trip to the pits. Andrei Foskovsky, who came into the pits at the end of lap 1 for repairs, back up into 13th place. Ranson is through on and Guyan into 9th. He's going onto the rear of Eddie Amos and Lewis Archer. So I don't think it'll be too long before he disposes of the pair of them.
Well, the message out there from Eunice saying the beep and bumps, yeah, they are. Unfortunately, we'll go back and have a look at a replay in a second. I just want to see whether we don't want to be looking at these two back in a replay soon if they get into each other. We're going to see the action of overtaking on track between, basically, we'd have to say, our series champion right here, the Spaniard, by points. Remember, too, those drop rounds? This is one that some of the drivers have saved for their drop round, because Bathurst can go anyway, mate. You can get a good result out of Bathurst, or you can have a horrible result out of Bathurst.
And we see Strumsher holding his line ahead of Jimenez as they enter Murray's for the 19th time in this race. 5 to go for the leaders. And Strumsher holds on and taking a nice line through there. Remaining in front for now, but this is the closest that Jimenez has been over the course of the race. He's clearly preserved his tyres very, very well. Strumsher probably not as much.
Overtaking opportunities coming up here, but he's got to break the slipstream, and it's going to feel like, he's going to bog down on speed. He did get a little slip, he got a little slingshot there. Going to go around the outside. Careful if you get too deep out there, because we're seeing drivers. Go ahead.
Yeah, he had to lift off the throttle because those curbs are not very friendly. He knew had he got on those curbs too heavily, that would have thrown him into the wall 100%.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Took the words right on. Great minds think alike, my friend. And now it's just a chase.
Through the left-handers, these fast left-handers. This is Finery Park that they are entering. And they will be heading down and through the S's. Hopefully there's no back markers which they'll have to navigate through. Ludovic Ranson has passed Eddie Amos, for your information. They're over a second off Lewis Archer for 7th place. There is Eddie Amos, who's just allowed the Unity Racing driver through. We'll go back to the battle for 2nd place though, because I think it is imminent that a change for the runner-up spot is about to take place. Kevin Strumsher holding firm for the time being. He'll have to go defensive here, but I think this is going to be Tony Jimenez heading through into 2nd place before they get to the chase here. Does he have his nose in front? We've seen how aggressive Strumsher has been on the inside here. Does he get his elbows out? He does, and leaves enough room there. Very, very good defensive driving there from Kevin Strumsher. Tony Jimenez, well, he's going to have to try again.
Yeah, he's going to have to, and that point, that's when you're laying your cards down on the table, and the bluff is being called on that situation at the moment. So Tony's going to have to come up with another alternative strategy here, and another plan, and another attack. But Lewis getting under attack currently at the moment from the French driver from Unity Racing, and I'm sure that is not over yet between those two gladiators.
Well, he's through now. His Ranson. That was coming all along, I think. And I think Lewis Archer did the right thing to just let him go, because that's probably not his battle. And this is most certainly the battle for both Strumsher and Jimenez entering the quarry. Is Jimenez able to just... Well, he won't be able to overtake through here. You could just see the sun almost blinding him a little bit there, which is adding another element into the mix. Heading up the hill they come. But it is Strumsher who is able to keep his nose in front for the time being, continuing to go through the left-handers before the S's arrive, where this has caught out a number of drivers over the course of this evening.
Concentration levels, as you're going to see in the cockpit, in the eyes of the champion, essentially, Spaniard here of Tony Jimenez, hiding the car, allowing it to slide down there, knowing that the fence is going to come out there and bite you any second, going off the racing line a little bit, has to lift a little bit, line it up there for the elbow, get in there, son. Tuck it up against the fence, hug the fence like your favourite grandma, as Martin Brunner would say, and chase him down Conrod Straight. I've been down here with my Nissan Skyline Godzilla, and it feels like fun.
On the Conrod Straight they come. Strumsher and Jimenez. Jimenez is not close enough this time around, I don't think, unless he wants to go for the inside. He thinks about it, but there's just no way he's able to just send his nose up there, so he's going to have to wait for the time being. Maybe wait for the mountain straight, because that probably feels like a more beneficial straight where the slipstream comes into effect. He'll want to get the move done before they get to the quarry, because when you incline like that and you're on the outside, it's more difficult to pull it off.
There's the tree out there that they had to put a barrier around, hence the Hell's Corner. They never used to have that there. I have a friend that actually lives right trackside here. I'm just going to try to point it out where it is. Can't quite see because of the action that's happening so much. But he lives on the track, of course. He's blocked in during Bathurst weekends because literally his driveway entrance is onto the track. So quite fun. Been there before, had a couple of barbecues. Not during race weekends, but certainly Be a great place to crash out on your sofa if you're interested in any race weekends there, as Rocon did set the fastest lap on that one. But our race leader, 4.9 seconds, got up to about 5.5 there from Lee Aberdeen. And at the moment, he might just be backing off. Could have traffic as well, too, that he's trying to navigate. But this battle behind him is helping him maintain that dominance that he's had in this race so far.
Ludovic Vincent is now within a couple of seconds of QG Ito for 6th place. I can say that the latest casualty in this race is Oscar Artenano, because he's the latest to have fallen foul of the barriers round here somewhere, the Spaniard.
Yeah.
He'd just been overtaken by Andrei Voskowski before he went back to pit lane. But this is the battle we want to stay for the time being, involving Strumpstra and Jimenez. Jimenez doesn't look like he's close enough here, but once you get out of the slipstream, when you get closer, the slipstream effect becomes even more positive than a few seconds ago. And he's looking to the inside here, possibly. No, he stays back for the time being.
Yep, once again, going to be a nice little battle between these two drivers. We'll go back and have a look at that replay you said of Oscar. He's had a couple of moments, I think. It could have also been a very, very hard lick into the fence here and done some damage, and he's going to try to continue on here for the other Spaniard. There it is! Seen that before. Ouch.
Yeah, not nice to see. Over at Forest Elbow for Oscar Artenano. In the closing stages of the race.
There.
Yeah.
Yep. That's your
the rear
good
just
seats.
steps out, didn't it?
Yeah. That's your good seats on this race right there. I've seen a few accidents. And that situation, once you go up, the mountain conquers another victim. As at the moment, Tony's going to get a little antsy here at the moment, isn't he? He's going to think about it, but no overtaking here, my friend.
Yep. This is the penultimate lap of the race. I think Oscar Artenano's come back onto the circuit. He's ahead of Paul Distelli now. He's into 14th with Simon Aborg as well, back into pit lane. He's had another clout with the wall as well. It looks like we're only going to get 14 finishes at this rate, as we see the Swedish driver of Aberg heading towards the cut-in. What's he managed to do here?
Bang.
Yeah. We go back to Strunstra and Jimenez exiting the elbow. And you just saw the line that Jimenez took. He took a slightly wider line to give him better speed compared to Strunstra to get into that slipstream. I wonder if he's going to be close enough to have a go. Eddie Amos has been overtaken by Nguyen for 9th position. He's still on him. Now, did he do that within the blue zone, as we would call it, where you're not supposed to make the overtakes at?
No, that's a good question. We'll go back and have a look at that one in a second. Whether or not Tony's going to get an overtake on Kevy, but not this time as round again. So he's going to have to re-rack him and restack him and try another approach there. Good defensive driving, you have to say there from the Dutch driver. It's not easy to try to look in your mirrors there and try to counter off any attacks when you're in a situation on the penultimate lap now, where you've got to be so focused up the road there. You've got to be focusing on your own race. And let's have a look at that overtake. Ooh.
I think Eddie Amos has been in the wall, so that moves fine for Nguyen. Eddie Amos has certainly been in the wall somewhere, because he's now behind Adam Telsma and Andrei Voskowski. There is your race leader, Lee Aberdeen, on trouble from start to finish. What a drive it has been, and a very mature one as well.
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to be so proud of an Aussie winning at home. Might switch it over to him in a second, because I just want to see if there's anything crazy that I don't think Tony's going to be having to do anything here at the moment. Look at this. He's got to get the perfect Forest Elbow exits if he wants a chance at stealing this P2. Ooh.
Down the hill they come. Oh, he's putting so much pressure. It almost looked like Strumsher was about to lose it, but gathered it all up. And we've seen Jimenez just giving him that little bit of a fright there, just to push him into a mistake. This is the last chance now for him to make his move as they come onto the Conrad Straight for the last time here in Bathurst, as we see Jimenez get into the slipstream.
Yeah, it's too far back.
Too far back to do it there.
I think.
Yeah, we'll cut away from that for the time being.
Yeah.
There is Lee Aberdeen, who has led every single lap of the race before taking the victory there. There is Jimenez looking to the outside. I don't think he was able to pull it off on Stremshaw on this occasion. I think Stremshaw has second place sewn up. But it's Lee Aberdeen who's coming through Murray's for the last time and is going to take the penultimate race win of the season in the IGP Super Formula Lights League here in Mount Panorama in Bathurst, New South Wales, Australia. Lee Aberdeen wins for the first time this season, and a very, very convincing one as well. Kevin Strumstra holding off Tony Jimenez for second place. Jimenez having to settle for his third place finish of the campaign, ahead of Robert Widgeway, who was fourth, and Denny Cornu in fifth. And it looks like Kuchi Ito, who we've hardly seen so much of this season, in all honesty, in terms of watching him battle in the field, is going to hold off Ludovic Ranson for sixth place, and a well-deserved drive from him.
Brilliant drive, actually, there, too, from the Japanese driver on the grid, up 9 positions there as well, too. A little bit of a what-if situation here for Raccoon, and Lewis Archer, another impressive drive there, 11 positions gain there. He'll finish ahead of the other French driver further back there, and then Adam with a solid drive there too from the Canadian. He's going to get himself into that top 10, up 11 places. So, you know, drivers that usually don't have the best of races throughout the season, they've all come through. A lot of those drivers for Bathurst has actually rewarded them and said, hey, you know, I'm so impressed, because it's one of those tracks that if you can conquer it, you feel so good. And I'd imagine the goosebumps and the feeling and the adrenaline that's pumping through this man's right now is that to win not only the Bathurst, but of course being as an Aussie, probably sitting there going, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Lee, you got the done, mate. First race win, and it comes at one of the toughest tracks on the calendar.
We just wait for Eddie Amos to head over the line in P12. Only the top 12 finished on the same lap as the race winner, and he almost goes over the line, which means we can finally run down on the final race classification. Whenever we get that, we'll get that to you in a moment. But Lee Aberdeen, you have to say, he very much deserved that from start to finish. And now we'll run down on the final classification here in Mount Panorama in Bathurst. It's Lee Aberdeen who takes a convincing win over Kevin Strumstra and Tommy Jimenez. Robert Ridgway was fourth, followed by Denny Cornu in fifth. Kuchi Ito, his best result of the season so far, in sixth place, and it's Ludovic Ranson in seventh. Lewis Archer eighth, and Guy in ninth. Adam Tasma rounding out the top 10. Andre Vasikowski recovered to 11th, ahead of Eddie Amos. It's Matthew Gracie won that down in 13th. Oscar Ottonono making it to the end in 14th place, with Paul Distelli in 15th spot. Simon Eberg crashed out towards the end. We also lost Behinid Ayan, Chris Patel, Elliot Hankin, Clark Williams, Eunice Amal, Mehmet Taski, Maxim Victus, Brad Villagar, Chris Byram, Dorian Arroyo, Scott Taylor, Jagd Olszewski, who we lost in the first lap, Jimmy Dos Santos, and Johan Annette didn't even take the start.
Oof. We survived it. Not many of the drivers did survive this one, but we got through it at Bathurst. And what a day for Australians, my friend. What a day to be an Aussie.
Yes, I won't put out any spoilers as to what's been going on today, but we've got one round to go in the iGPFun Super Formula Lights League. It is Spa for the season finale. The championship has already wrapped up for Tony Jimenez. No one can catch him, but they will want to go out in a blaze of glory around this legendary circuit. It's a fan's favourite as well. There's also the Formula Giving charity event that follows on the 15th, and we look forward to that as well. Dean, thank you very much for joining me in the commentary box for tonight. Hats off to Lee Aberdeen for taking that victory on home turf. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Make sure you like and subscribe to JP Broadcasting, and you can keep up to date with all the action that's being broadcast on the channel from all the leagues which we broadcast the races on. We've got one round to go at Spa, but Dean, your last thoughts on tonight's action before we wrap it up?
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. That's it. Thank you.
And we'll do it all over again in 7 days' time for the season finale at Spa. I'm Tom Cairns, he's Dean Biggles, and we'll speak to you again soon when the iGPFun Super Formula Lights League returns.